Here we have the goggle cabinet. It's located in the back of the room, and there's a couple things you need to know about the goggles. First off, goggles should be worn any time that we're using chemicals in the lab, heat, or glass. And that's a rule that we have to stand by no matter what, no matter how trivial it is. If we're just boiling water over Bunsen burners, you have to wear your goggles. Everyone needs to do that. Basically, it's just a safety rule that we need to enforce, therefore everyone is safe. So, at the beginning of the class, if the cabinet's not open, just open it up. And the goggles should be stored inside. The way that they should be stored when you're done with them is with the nose piece down. That's because when we're done and we close the cabinet and we turn the timer on the side, an ultraviolet light shines down from the top, and that acts to disinfect the goggles. It kills any sort of germs that may be on the goggles from the person before you. So what you need to do when you grab your goggles, if they're not clean, you can kind of rinse them out with a little bit of water, but you might want to use a tissue to dry them as opposed to the paper towels, because the tissues may not scratch the lenses as much. Goggles are not comfortable, and a lot of students complain about them, but they're necessary. The reason why we use these goggles is they are not safety glasses. If you look from the side, you can see that my face should be completely sealed. That way, if I'm working in the lab and there's an explosion of some sort and chemicals get splattered, they're not reaching the mucous membranes or the soft tissues of my eyes, and that acts to protect me. Sometimes, depending on the conditions in the room, your goggles may want to fog up, which is why you have 4 air vents. And these air vents need to be positioned so that these little caps are closed. And what they do is they act as like a shingle on a roof, where if something were to hit it, it'll splash and divert it. You don't want to be walking around with these things out like this, although they look kind of cool. What that does is that allows a direct line of entry of any chemicals right into where my goggles are. So you want those four black sections to be closed in. Okay. Goggles you can adjust by pulling on the straps on the side. You can make them tighter or more loose. Hopefully by the time you're done with your lab and you take your goggles off, it's the very last thing you do. You take your goggles off and you return them. You might have a nice badge of honor here that we call Goggle Eye that you can take with you to your next class. And that's cool. That means you're walking around saying, hey, I just finished a science lab. When you're done, you'll return them. Hopefully they'll all be neatly stored in here with the nose piece down, as I mentioned. And at the end of the class, I may ask you, or I may do it myself, we turn the key to lock it, and then we turn the timer on the side, and that has that UV ray acts to disinfect the goggles. So remember, goggles are used anytime heat, glassware, or chemicals are used in the lab. Goggles are the first thing you get and the last thing you put away once your experiment is complete.